heritage tree at near the south corner, and the driveway is just north of that. This is a classic case of residential infill. Under existing SF3, the applicant could re-sub this property and achieve about the same number of units on this property. And to that end, there is a subdivision in process for 8 duplex lots. So that would be a total of 16 duplex units on this property. So there's an application for SF6 zoning with a subdivision and site plan, and then there's also, as a contingency plan, a subdivision in for 8 duplex lots that could be achieved under the existing SF3 zoning. However, the applicant thinks that with this SF6 zoning, it will allow for a better outcome in terms of the existing neighbors and future residents on this property. There will be an impact of development on Vinson Drive associated with any development on this property. However, the staff thinks that given the number of residential units and vehicle trips that are proposed, is comparable to what could be achieved under the existing zoning. So the staff is recommending this rezoning case. We believe that SF3 is compatible with the adjacent and nearby single-family residences. Is an SF3 plan which would not have compatibility. The SF6 plan would have the benefit of compatibility.
Right. And then one last question. On page 19 of 93, there's the pullout from the policies for the residential core, and the SF6 has an asterisk next to it. The uses should be conditional and may be appropriate when located next to more permissive districts or intensive uses depending on context. Can you tell me, it says in the front, in the staff summary, that the SF6 for this location is appropriate based on this, but I'm wondering what are the more permissive districts and intensive uses that are in the context of this that support that?
You know, I would say for this property, when we looked at it as a zoning group, we saw this as a little different because it faces Vinson Avenue, unlike any of the other properties on this block. It faces a railroad track, and the lots are long to which it backs up. So we did not establish this as a conditional use.
So the lot size of the SF3 around
and the irregular configuration of this lot and its context with the railroad line and the railroad spur.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Then our next speaker, Christopher Scholar, and you'll have 5 minutes. Actually, you have time being donated to you, let's see, you need 7 minutes?
Okay.
And is Stephanie here? And David King, I see you. All right, so you have 7 minutes if you need it.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Christopher Scholar, and I, like many of my neighbors, oppose the spot rezoning proposal for the Vinson Villas. If I could just finish up what Missy was saying, we have never agreed to any conditions for an SF6, just so you know. So any conditional agreements have not been from the neighborhood association. So again, my many neighbors, and when I say many, I refer to a valid petition we've submitted whose signers represent far more than the 20% required. We have more than 50%. And this is in addition to the unanimous vote by our South Manchac contact team. There are several reasons that we oppose this petition. One reason is safety. The area in discussion is already one that is unsafe. While it may not be the responsibility of the developer to improve Austin's infrastructure, I believe it is incumbent upon our officials, you good people, to vote in a way that does not exacerbate an already treacherous situation. Another reason, I'm sorry, Another reason is that this proposal does not adhere to our neighborhood, the SACNP's own codes, which was called out in the staff report. Vinson Rhodes' character is almost rural in that it is a corridor that abuts a railroad track. It's on the edge of this. Nor does it comply with Imagine Austin's tenets. While those specifically refer to developments offering realistic opportunities for transit, bicycle, and pedestrian travel, and for infill to maximize those same opportunities, it's not a safe area. Finally, this proposed development does not qualify under the SMART guidelines. In conclusion, the SACNP is the first neighborhood adopted under the Imagine Austin Comprehensive Plan. We ask that you support us in our attempts to work within and continue to support these plans and vote against this development, which runs counter to them. This spot rezoning request is not safe and it's not smart. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you.
I'd now like to introduce Ray Collins.
Before Ray comes up,
Okay.
we
Sorry.
sometimes do it one at a time. Sometimes we do it at the end. But
I've never done this before.
It's okay.
Okay, hi, I'm here for questions.
So my question to you, have you seen the plan that could be built today with, or what's your preference for developing 8 units through duplexes, 16 units through duplexes, then 16 units through this plan? If you could explain that.
I can explain. We, the Neighborhood Association, has never seen a realistic 2-scale SF3 plan. We found out after it had been submitted that there was the SF6 plan, and then what we got was something that was just a sketch. We were told then that it hadn't gone any further because that wasn't the proposal. And in my opinion, it was ginned up to scare us because it looked worse, but again, had nothing to scale. It was just a sketch. And it seems like we're jumping through an awful lot of hoops if, as the petitioner states, they're pretty much the same thing. I don't understand why then we're pushing for an increase in density to SF6.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Commissioner White.
Would you pull the slide with why it's not smart up one more time?
Sure. Here you go. We've seen in the images that area is already, actually, if I can take you back to here. Okay, this is the area pretty much where the development would enter Vinson Road. I don't know if you've driven Vinson Road, but it's very narrow, hilly, and has poor drainage. And it's only one lane in either direction. It's zoned for 25 miles per hour. This is at a point where the bike lane disappears, and the instruction is to share the road between cars and bicycles. Even though this is a bicycle corridor, there is no bike lane in this area. So it's a pretty treacherous drive. I drive it every day because my son goes to school at the end of Vinson. And some of the SMART's tenets are that it should be, convenient to transit and bikeable. That barely exists currently on Vinson Road and would only get worse under any development dumping out onto it. The northbound Vinson Road, especially in the morning, has traffic going to St. David's Hospital as well as St. Elmo's School. And there is nothing more than a stop sign at the end of it as it hits St. Elmo. And traffic can get backed up. I've seen it as many as 17, 18 cars in the morning, and that's a regular thing in a school zone and a hospital zone.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Okay, our next speaker, Mr. Collins. Mr. Collins, you'll have the standard 3 minutes, and then several people are donating time to you, so I want to make sure I get this right. I've got Tara Connolly here, and Kate Mason Murphy. No? Okay, so that is 5 minutes, okay?
Yeah, I thought I had 6 minutes.
There's, it looks like one other person who's wishing to donate time, Margaret Dunn. All right, so you have 6 minutes?
Yeah, great. That 6 minutes should be plenty. My name is Ray Collins. I'm a contact team member. The first training I was offered was a forum with some familiar panelists: Richard Suttle of Armbruster and Brown for developers, Laura Morrison for neighborhoods, James Norty. Before the forum, I'd read of spot zoning, but something Richard Suttle said about it is pertinent this evening and gave meaning to that information. He spoke about how he has to deal with the fact that when he is asking for upzoning, such as that before the Planning Commission tonight in a solidly SF3 neighborhood, this absolutely puts, quote, I'm quoting him here, this absolutely puts the rest of the block in jeopardy. And neighborhood people know there are going to be 10 others, his words, 10 other developers behind him with similar or higher upzoning requests. From the residents' point of view, this results in the destruction of their neighborhood. Calling your attention to page 93 of the staff report, the third paragraph of the letter the contact team sent you addresses this and asks you to join us in upholding the ballot petition and not allowing this zoning change for this reason alone. I'm also here to make known to you that there are residents, myself included, who are working on having the city buy this property. Mr. Giustino is on record at the November 1st meeting of the contact team that he is willing to sell it to the city. Our goal is to have the city hold the property until Austin's long-term plans for the unused railroad spur right-of-way come to fruition. These plans include an urban trail, bike lanes, sidewalks, and improvements to this section of Vinson Drive from a 70s era Texas farm to market road or rural ranch road to an urban street that is reasonably safe for all users. In the course of some discussion with Watershed Protection about having the city buy the property for stormwater retention, City Engineer John Middleton told me that they used a ½ inch of rainfall as a rough initial estimate of how much water undeveloped property would retain before water starts moving downhill. For this 1.9 acre property with the 47% impermeable cover of the SF6 site plan currently under review by Mrs. Rhodes, 37,920 gallons of stormwater starts moving the 2 blocks downhill to the Williamson Creek floodplain for every inch of rainfall. One of my former co-workers lost her home in Southwood to Williamson Creek flooding after upzoning and development of a property uphill from her. She is one of many who are already gone, and there are more homes at risk. I will last address the staff's recommendation as it relates to the Vision Zero timeline. May 19th, the City Council resolved the city is going to pursue the Vision Zero goal that reducing pedestrian, bicycle, and traffic fatalities should be the first purpose of any city road network. July 16th, City Manager Ott produced a memo directing Rob Spiller and Greg Guernsey, among others, to implement it. So here we are 5 months later. I found out just last week that pedestrian safety was chosen as a priority and Joel Meyer was hired as pedestrian coordinator for ATD. A draft pedestrian safety action plan is scheduled for summer 2017. Obviously, this timeline doesn't fit what we are here to discuss tonight. I have a faint hope that if we were having this discussion in December 2017, there might be a different staff recommendation, a recommendation against development of this Vincent Drive property. Since I retired a few years ago, I drive this unsafe section of Vinson Drive 2 or 3 times monthly when traffic is off peak. Even so, I routinely collect the following of a few cars simply by going the speed limit. The traffic is fast and excessive. I am your witness that the Vision Zero Austin goal of reducing fatalities via road design is nowhere in sight in tonight's staff report or on Vinson Drive. Thank you.
It's definitely in the weather right now. If 16 units could be built on this property under SF3 or SF6, the same number of cars would be leaving from this single connecting point to Vinson Road under current zoning or new zoning. So safety is not